Hello, welcome to another module of the State Review Panel training series. We will be discussing the State Review Panel responsibilities. I am Cassandra Piñato, Review and Adoption Specialist in the Instructional Materials and Implementation Division at TEA. During this training, I will discuss breakouts and correlations, TEKS coverage, errors and feedback process, review logistics, and publisher options following the initial review. You will need a paper and a pen to take notes and a simple four-function calculator. Even your cell phone will suffice. This training will take approximately 15 minutes to complete. Let's start with breakouts and correlations. TEA uses language in the student expectations in the TEKS to create the breakouts. For a student expectation to be considered addressed in instructional materials, each of the associated breakouts must be addressed. The student expectations are separated into breakouts using specific rules that we are going to review. When a student expectation includes the conjunction "and," everything separated by that word must be included in the instructional materials. In this example from Lifetime Fitness and Wellness Pursuits for PE, the student is expected to measure and evaluate personal fitness in terms of health-related fitness components. Each one must be included in the instructional materials in order for this student expectation to be considered addressed. So you see two breakouts: measure personal fitness in terms of health-related fitness components and evaluate personal fitness in terms of health-related fitness components. When a student expectation includes including, everything in the list following including will be a separate breakout. In this example from Health Education Grade 4, the student is expected to explain actions to take when illness occurs, including asthma, diabetes, and epilepsy. All of these will be divided into three separate breakouts. Explain actions to take when illness occurs, including asthma, including diabetes, and including epilepsy. The instructional materials must provide alignment to all three breakouts in order for this student expectation to be considered addressed. When a student expectation contains the word "or," instructional materials must include at least one of the items connected by the word "or," but not all. In this example from English Level 1, the student is expected to defend or challenge the author's claims using relevant text evidence. This expectation only has one breakout because the instructional materials should show that the student can defend or challenge the author's claims using relevant text evidence. For this last breakout rule, if a student expectation includes the phrase "such as," the items following "such as" are only provided as examples. For example, in this expectation from Spanish Language Arts and Reading Grade 3, the student is expected to develop social communication such as conversing politely in all situations. You will notice the breakout only states "develop social communication." Instructional materials may include the words that follow "such as," but they are not required to. If you are interested in reviewing the breakout documents, you can visit the Instructional Materials and Implementation website and select breakout documents listed under the Review and Adoption header. The breakouts are organized by subject areas on the Breakout Documents website. Publishers have identified where in their materials they believe each of the breakouts are covered using citations. Citations are collected on a correlation document. Not all publishers are trying to achieve 100% coverage. Now let's talk about TEKS coverage. Each individual breakout must be addressed twice in the materials intended for the student and for the teacher. Citations addressed in the student material are considered addressed in the teacher material. Citations addressed only in the teacher material are not considered addressed in the student material. Again, this is because teachers have access to student materials. However, students do not have access to the teacher materials. There are two types of citations: a narrative citation and an activity citation. Each breakout must contain a narrative and an activity citation in order for it to be considered addressed. Narrative citations provide an opportunity for one of the following: a student to learn the knowledge or skill, or the teacher to teach the knowledge or skill. Activity citations provide an opportunity for the student to demonstrate the knowledge or the student to practice the skill. If you accept a publisher's narrative and activity citation from the student materials, that breakout is automatically considered addressed in the teacher materials. This is because it is assumed that all teachers have access to the student materials when planning instruction. In order to be eligible for adoption by the State Board of Education, publishers must successfully demonstrate alignment to at least 50% of the TEKS in the student and teacher materials and 100% of the applicable English language proficiency standards. This is specific to instructional materials submitted in response to a proclamation. This means that the publisher provided acceptable narrative and activity citations for every breakout for at least 50% of the student expectations for that course and grade level. Your primary role is to determine if the narrative citation provides an opportunity for the student to learn the knowledge or skill, or the teacher to teach the knowledge or skill, and an activity citation which provides an opportunity for the student to demonstrate the knowledge or the student to practice the skill. You are not evaluating how well the citations accomplished the tasks. You will also be asked to report errors and provide feedback. If you encounter content that is factually incorrect, you are obligated to report it. This includes any content that may impede student learning, including grammatical and punctuation errors. This does not include omissions. You may have strong opinions about the quality of the content you encounter. You are encouraged to provide the publisher with suggestions, but you may not reject a citation unless it fails to provide an opportunity for the teacher to teach or the student to learn, practice, or demonstrate the knowledge or skill. If you reject a citation, we ask that you please provide the publisher with feedback regarding why the content cited failed to meet the standard. So let's talk about the review logistics. This picture is from a pre-pandemic standards alignment review. You will be placed on a team of 3 or 5 people. Each product will be reviewed by one team. If a product is available in 2 languages, it will be assigned to a bilingual team. When you are assigned to a product, you will receive a digital copy of the instruction material and an evaluation instrument. Each team is charged with 3 responsibilities. First, determine the extent to which the TEKS are covered. Second, report all factual errors discovered during the review. And third, provide the publisher with feedback. You will review each narrative citation for a breakout until you have accepted one narrative citation or you have rejected all narrative citations for that breakout. You will repeat this process for each activity citation. If you accept a citation, you should not continue reviewing citations for that type for that breakout. You must accept a citation if it provides one of the following: an opportunity for the teacher to teach the component of the knowledge or skill, an opportunity for the student to learn the component of knowledge or skill, or an opportunity for the student to demonstrate the component of knowledge or practice the skill. Each publisher has indicated on its correlation document the percentage of TEKS it believes the product covers. Your findings will be documented on the evaluation and compared to the publisher's calculated TEKS percentage. The publisher's next steps are determined by how closely your findings align with their calculations. In this section, I will discuss the publisher's options once the reviewers have completed their initial review. If you determine that the product meets or exceeds the publisher's projected TEKS coverage percentage, the review is complete. If the product was submitted for consideration for adoption by the State Board of Education, it is also eligible for adoption by the State Board of Education. If you find that a product meets at least 75% of the TEKS the publisher indicated the product would meet, the publisher may present new content or new citations to achieve a higher percentage. If not, the publisher may request a second review, which is also called a re-review, by a new panel. If eligible, the publisher may submit new content or new citations for any breakouts the reviewers determined were not covered in the original submission. The publisher has 48 hours from the time we send the initial report to provide new content or new citations. If a publisher fails to meet the 48-hour deadline, the review will be considered complete. It does not apply to any breakouts for which the publisher did not originally provide citations. If a publisher is not eligible to provide new content or new citations because it meets less than 75% of its projected TEKS percentage, it may request a review by another panel. Now we are going to work through some scenarios to make sure you really understand the difference between eligibility for new content or new citations and, if submitted for consideration, eligible for adoption by the State Board of Education. If you didn't already grab a calculator, please pause the video and grab one now. You can use your phone. In this first scenario, the publisher's projected TEKS coverage was 90%, and the reviewer's identified TEKS coverage was 61%. If the product was submitted for consideration for adoption by the State Board of Education, would it be eligible for adoption? Yes, it does cover at least 50% of the TEKS for the course and grade level. Therefore, it is eligible for adoption if it is submitted. Is the publisher eligible for new content or new citations? No. Since 61 is only 67.78% of 90, the reviewer's identified TEKS percentage must be at least 75% of the publisher's identified TEKS percentage in order for the publisher to be eligible to provide new content or new citations for this product. In this scenario, the publisher's projected TEKS coverage was 100% and the reviewer's identified TEKS coverage was 90%. If submitted, is this product eligible for adoption by the State Board of Education? Yes, the product covers more than 50% of the TEKS of the course or grade level. Is the publisher eligible to provide new content or new citations? Yes, since the publisher reached 75% of its goal, it is eligible to provide new content or new citations to try to reach the 100%. In this third scenario, the publisher's projected TEKS coverage was 60%, and the reviewer's identified TEKS coverage was 61%. If submitted, is the product eligible for adoption? Yes, the product covers more than 50% of the TEKS for the course and grade level. But is the publisher eligible to provide new content or new citations? No. Actually, the reviewer's identified TEKS coverage is greater than the publisher's identified TEKS coverage. The publisher has met its goal and cannot provide new content or new citations to achieve a higher percentage. In this final scenario, the publisher's projected TEKS coverage was 50%. The reviewer's identified TEKS coverage at 41%. If submitted, is this product eligible for adoption? No, the product must cover at least 50% of the TEKS for the course and grade level in order to be eligible for adoption. But is the publisher eligible to provide new content or new citations? Yes, the publisher did achieve 82% of its goal, therefore it can still provide new content or new citations in order to achieve the 50%. Let's do a quick review before we wrap up. Publishers correlated their instructional materials to the TEKS student expectations by providing citations for the breakouts. For a student expectation to be considered addressed, every associated breakout must be addressed. For a breakout to be considered addressed, it must have an acceptable narrative and activity citation. Once you have accepted a narrative and activity citation for a breakout, you move to the next breakout. Instructional materials submitted for consideration for adoption must meet at least 50% of the TEKS and 100% of the applicable ALPS in order to be eligible for adoption by the State Board of Education. Not all of the materials under review will be participating in the SBOE process. Publishers estimated their percentage of TEKS when they submitted their correlations. If the reviewers determine the materials cover at least 75% of the publisher's estimate, the publisher may provide new content or new citations to achieve its goal. If you have any questions about anything you have heard today, please feel free to submit them to the Instruction Materials and Implementation Help Desk or bring them to orientation. Again, thank you for your service and thank you for your time.